I was kind of worried about this at first because Kevin Hart, who I'm not a huge fan of, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who I kind of quite like, and
he came and sat in this studio once.
He did, and you liked him very much. Yeah. And you've seen the posters which are all over this, which are it takes a little Hart and a big Johnson, and that's the joke, because big Johnson, little Hart. Fine, okay. So the story is that they are at the beginning of the movie. These two characters are people who are at school together. One of them is incredibly sort of popular. That's the Kevin Hart character. He's the sort of football star. The other one is the bullied, put upon child who is beaten up and treated appallingly. The only person who comes to his aid is the Kevin Hart character, who is known as Golden Jet because of his football prowess. We then cut to several years later, and the guy who was the high school hero is now cooling his heels in a boring desk job. There's a high school reunion coming up. He doesn't want to go to it because he was this kind of star, and now he thinks that he's just somebody who works in a desk job. Then he gets a message on Facebook from character played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who is now changed his name, and he agrees to meet up with him, thinking, oh, this is really, really weird. And when he meets him, he's turned into Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who is a strange character who wears unicorn T-shirts, and appears to be super hard, and yet at the same time is obsessed with Molly Ringwald. And the next thing you know, they are both involved in a crime caper to stop the sale of US satellite codes to the highest bidder, something from which Kevin Hart's character wants out.
All you gotta do is get out this car and have a rational conversation with Bob, and he'll understand. Robert, I would like to go home now, please.
Buddy, you and me both. But until we clear our names, there's no going home.
I'm sorry, can you clarify that last sentence for me?
Yeah, well, now that you're in.
Let me stop you right there. I'm not in. I never said that I was in. In fact, I expressly remember saying that I was out.
I know, but they think you're in.
I'm freaking out! I'm out! What's I have to tell?
No, I get
I'm
it.
not in!
I'm saying they think you're in.
I'm not in!
I get it.
I am not in!
So, the film's directed by Rawson Marshall Thurber, who made Dodgeball, which I like very much, and We're the Millers, which I didn't like very much. And so, as I said, I went in fairly low expectations, started laughing fairly early on, and then continued to laugh much more than I'd expected.
Really?
Pretty solidly all the way through the film. And believe me, no one was more surprised than me. Although the plot is ropey and falls apart fairly quickly, the film works because it has not only that odd couple chemistry, which, despite what you heard there in that clip, actually Kevin Hart kind of dials down the shrieky thing that he does. He dials it down quite a long way. But the central relationship is so peculiar between this character who looks like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and yet is obsessed with unicorns and obsessed with Molly Ringwald and obsessed with 16 Candles, and yet on the other hand also happens to be some kind of behaving like some sort of secret agent, and the Kevin Hart character who rather well thumbnails that idea of somebody who was a really big star at school and then is terrified that the best of their life has passed them by, is terrified that they're actually living in the aftermath of their heyday. And so although all the sort of plot machinations basically exist, I mean, very much like Absolutely Fabulous, as a series of setups for Tubi's comedy gags, I laughed pretty much all the way through, and I laughed not just chuckling, I laughed out loud a couple of times. There were jokes that I came out grinning like an idiot, and I saw it accompanied by a teenager who felt exactly the same way.
Is this the previous teenager?
So, yeah, the same teenager.
Your target audience.
I took my son to see it, and I'm 52, and he's 15.
53 tomorrow, though.
53 tomorrow, thank you. And believe me, we both laughed all the way through, and we both came out and went, that was so much funnier than I thought it was going to be. So it was, and believe me, no one was more surprised than me. I enjoyed Central Intelligence quite a lot.